he did already would be a good interview as well.
Yes, but let's get into the book
Okay.
because I've just gone through it. You finished the manuscript.
Yeah.
Maybe tell us about the title and what the book is all about and what inspired it.
It started as a project of, the theme was jazz, agency and power. But as I continue to do the research, I began to find the research process tilted and changed the theme of the book. Because I could see interconnections between jazz and other genres of music. Because essentially what I wanted to do was to feature jazz as a main theme and do a comparative analysis between jazz and other genres.
In fact,
That's objective.
I often talk about the tree of jazz, to say each branch represents a subgenre, and from there I look at the interdependence between jazz and all these other music genres. But I also suspect that you could be subscribing to the purity of jazz, and you're not a music charlatan, like those people who are saying jazz has to be like this. But I'm glad because now you are looking at other branches. So that misconception I had, it's unfounded. And I'm glad that you are dealing with it in this book.
Now I'm glad you are mentioning that. People tend to misconstrue or misunderstand me as that, which is not really. I was more concerned, and I read Bob Dio's book called Distinction, right? On the different aesthetics of taste that people have. So that question has already been resolved. But I was looking at the market forces and how the market forces discriminated, if I may use a word, simplistic word, between other genres, because on the basis of interest. And you'll see that in one of the interviews here, amongst the artists that I'm interviewing, the jazz musicians that I'm interviewing, they also agree with me that there is that problem, because the market, which is market forces, actually looks at how much crowds, how many people are coming. Many people is equal to profits. Right? Yes. Therefore, then they give preference to other genres than to jazz. Jazz attracts a small number of people. It's not a question of being we deal with the question in the book of avant-garde versus popular music. Right? I've shifted that position since then, hypothetically, and begin to understand that indeed the market forces impact on what I call the subject, which is the musician himself, the jazz musician himself, or musicians in general, over other musical genres. So the actor is at the center stage of the research, which was jazz before, but then I'm trying to do a comparative analysis between jazz musician, pop, classical music. Right?
In fact, the subject is interesting, especially for my listeners on 101.9 High FM. And usually I say to people, all these radio stations may broadcast to over 500,000, exactly. Some even 1 million.
Exactly.
Then I say to them, my show is for 150,000 people, but those are employers of those millions of people who listen to their radio stations or to their program. And for me, that's why your book will be relevant, because it's pitched at that market segment that I'm targeting, your middle to top LSMs.
Yeah, the other objective indeed, I might say I'm failing and I'm struggling to find the answer to that, was to do an hypothesis of grammatically. Music is a grammatical word itself, but it has not been conceptualized. So what I seek to do was to try and ask, what are the origins of music? How did it came to be that in our vocabulary today we use the word music? Right? So I therefore then say, before there was music, there was sound. Right? What is sound? Sound is generic. By sound we mean the sound of a train. Pimas Agana, for example, draws from that quite strongly. And you'll see Sidney Music in the book does the same thing. He says he listens to different sounds, but he also listens not only to music, he listens to sound as well, to be able to construct something out of it. I mean, you remember, I think Miles and them as well. I mean, there was an album called, what was it called? I forgot now. But I think Dave Brubeck, Take Five.
Yeah.
There's that horse kind of a thing, and so on and so on and so on. But also, I look at classical music, and I look at ideologies in music. Remember Wagner. Many people would say Wagner was is labeled as a right winger and so on. He used to play concerts for the Nazis and so on and so on. And then Beethoven. So I'm trying to look at and draw a contrasting perspective between those two artists, for example. Fast forward till up to today, Mankunku versus the sounds of Brenda. So on the one hand, jazz, on the other hand, it's pop. So key into the book, I bring that into form. And the artists that I've interviewed eloquently, at many times, in discourse with them, denounce my views. And they give me fresh and new interesting perspectives as to what this is. And it's not a binary opposition, pop versus jazz, jazz versus pop. They are showing me the nuances and the complexities that exist within them. But yet are able to say at a structural level that the market forces do have a role to play. And so does the state, right?
Now, for now, let me say it's a taste of what's still to come, which is all eloquently captured in your book. And I loved your conversations, and I'm glad that one of your conversations with Estelle Bokot, I played it live, on Pineapple. And there are many more to come.
Thank you.
Let's pause here. Till next time.
Thank you.
Okay.